Here are the candidates running to be New York City's next public advocate.
My name is Manny ALICANDRO, and I want to be your public advocate. I was born and raised in an Italian immigrant household in Kensington, Brooklyn. My mother was a New York City school crossing guard, and my grandfather worked in a factory, shoveling powder into a churner to make toothpaste. Coming from a modest background, I truly understand the needs of all New Yorkers. My professional and educational experience make me uniquely qualified to be your public advocate. I am a financial law expert with experience in compliance, regulation, and governance. I received my undergraduate degree from New York University, my Master of Science degree from Pace University, my law degree from New York Law School, and an MBA from the Sloan School of Management at MIT. I am a member of the New York State Bar. I am running because I am fed up with the dysfunction of City Hall. Unlike the other candidates, I am not an elected official. As an outsider, I will fight for all New Yorkers and be the true independent ombudsperson holding Mayor de Blasio and the City Council accountable.
My name is Michael Blake, and I'm a candidate for New York City Public Advocate. I have spent the last 13 years in public service, first as a campaign and White House aide for President Obama. Currently, I'm a New York State Assembly member representing my home community in South Bronx. Now, more than ever, New Yorkers, we need leadership and demand a government that works for the people. Be it the trains and buses running on time, the Amazon deal, New York City public housing, or ensuring affordability, it's abundantly clear that New Yorkers, we need a leader to ensure that our city and our officials are looking out for our best interests. I am running to be that leader, to fight for jobs and justice for the people. Even in the greatest city in the world, we can do more to improve the lives of New Yorkers across our city. As public advocate, I will fight for greater housing rights and affordability in all of our communities. I will hold the Public Housing Authority responsible for their crimes and cover-ups. I will seek a permanent seat on the MTA board to be our voice and fight for on-time buses and trains. And I will focus on investing our resources into quality jobs, higher wages, and better schools. I will continue to support small, minority, and women-owned businesses and introduce a tracking system to ensure that jobs created are going to New York City residents that need them the most. I am running for public advocate because I believe in New York City that's fairer and stronger for everyone, especially those communities that have been ignored for far too long. If you believe that together, we can rise again. Join us. Visit blakefornyc.com to learn more.
Do you feel like the neighborhood you love is disappearing? Are you sickened by the record displacement and homelessness under a so-called progressive mayor? Do you resent that the small businesses you love are being replaced by empty storefronts and chain stores? Well, you're not alone. And now you can do something about it. I'm David EISENBACH. I'm a history professor who ran in the 2017 Democratic primary for public advocate and got 92,000 votes by speaking out against the big real estate takeover of our parks and hospitals and the rezoning of our communities that make affordable neighborhoods unaffordable. I will take on the Board of Education to make sure we address educational disparity in a real way by fixing the schools so that all our kids can compete for the specialized high schools. The real solution to overcrowding and abuse in our jails is not to build new jails in our neighborhoods, but the elimination of the cash bail system. I will appoint a community activist to the City Planning Commission to bring transparency to the ULRICH process and work to give communities veto power over rezoning. When I ran for public advocate in 2017, I promised to lead the fight for the Small Business Job Survival Act, which has been thwarted by big real estate for over 3 decades. I didn't win, but I decided to keep that campaign promise as a private citizen. And after taking up the fight, this year we're about to pass the SBJSA that will protect small business and the character of our neighborhoods. If I can do that as a private citizen, imagine what I can do as your public advocate.
New Yorkers, let's get real. It's getting harder and harder to live in our city. And for many of us, it's impossible. We are either being squeezed out or choosing to pack up and leave. We feel it when we pay the bills, commute around the city, and through other societal and environmental pressures. Most especially, we feel it when we're not being heard. People have historically come to New York City to make it here. So why does it feel so difficult? It's because our city is driven by crisis, not bold ideas. So it's time for us to take back our city and push it forward. We have to hold the mayor accountable and introduce bold ideas. As a born and raised New Yorker, I am tired of elected officials who use the same playbook and don't deliver, especially when the future of our city is on the line. It's time we change that. And we do that by, 1, making New York City greener. We require green roofs on all buildings, protect community gardens, and push for a ban on single-use plastics. 2, our city has to be affordable for all of us. Whether you're a tenant or a homeowner, more needs to be done to lower your costs. 3, I truly believe New York City's culture must remain vibrant. We must do more to protect our small businesses, artist communities, and nightlife economy. 4, we have to promote wellness in our schools through healthy school lunches and meditation in all classrooms to improve the education of our children. Lastly, I will fight bad labor and investment deals like Amazon and for new workers' rights like the right to disconnect. Because we shouldn't live to work. We work to live. As your public advocate, I believe I have the plan that will make New York City livable for all of us. Vote for me on the Livable City line.
Hi, I'm Tony Herbert, and I'm here to ask you to vote for me to be your next New York City public advocate. As the son of a working poor single mother who became homeless due to gentrification, I feel compelled to do my part to ensure that all New York City residents have a clean, affordable place to live and to bring people together to make our city one New York. As public advocate, I promise to use my powers of appointment and oversight to fix NYCHA housing without selling off land to private developers. My plan to create supportive housing for severely mentally ill homeless from unused city hospital space will reduce our jail population and make our streets even safer. I will work with the City Council to establish incentive programs to grow small businesses. Lastly, I will create a citywide membership vocational training program so high schoolers can graduate and begin working in city jobs such as school custodians and bus drivers, providing a real direction for New York City's Generation Z. On Tuesday, February 26th, please vote for me, Tony Herbert, on the Residents First line. I will be a public advocate for all New Yorkers.
My name is Ron Kim, and I'm running for public advocate to put people over corporations. I immigrated to America with my parents when I was 7. I was raised in Queens, earned a master's degree from Baruch, and now I'm a member of the State Assembly. My parents came to America for opportunity. They owned a small grocery store and worked 7 days a week to make a better life for our family. But today, that dream for future generations is virtually impossible for millions of New Yorkers. That's because everyday New Yorkers have been ignored by politicians at all levels of government. Instead, massive corporations have taken priority. Every year, politicians hand out billions in taxpayer dollars to the world's wealthiest companies, while the rest of us settle for leftovers. For example, something's desperately wrong when Amazon receives $3 billion in taxpayer-funded giveaways while the MTA crumbles before our eyes. Or when luxury real estate developers receive huge tax breaks, where New Yorkers suffer from an affordable housing crisis that has existed for years. As public advocate, I'll lead the fight to end corporate giveaways and reinvest those resources back into our communities. And I'll take a step that no other candidate is talking about. I'll transform the office into the first in the nation devoted to eliminating the crushing burden of student debt that stops the most distressed New Yorkers from getting ahead. Join our campaign for public advocate, and let's put people over corporations.
New York's in crisis. Wages are low, rents are high, infrastructure's in decay, train delays, stifling traffic, lead poisoning, illegal evictions, cold water, no heat. The cost of survival is tearing apart the fabric of New York. Income inequality is the worst in history, and New York has the worst disparity in the United States. Yet it's the wealthiest city in the world. And they tell us New York is broke in order to confuse us. Who says we're broke? The corporate elite who took all of New York City's wealth, who haven't paid their share of taxes in decades, but have no problem paying off government for tax breaks. This legalized bribery is corroding New York. I'm NOMIKI KONST. I'm an activist, an organizer, an investigative reporter, a reformer. And like millions of New Yorkers before us, I moved here to find my path. My grandpa came on the very last boat to Ellis Island, escaping a dictator who who put him on a kill list for challenging corruption. Then, New York was the symbol of possibility. Now it's the symbol of wealth. New York City is starved, and when the government looks for money to pay for housing, infrastructure, school, the cost is on us, not corporations stealing our land, kicking us out of our neighborhoods. Politicians love press conferences, but the elite are scared of investigations, being exposed. I've investigated corruption, political machines, named names, and taken the heat. And it's time our public advocate fights for working New Yorkers while exposing and taking on the elites that put New York in crisis by exploiting us. It's time they pay. It's time they pay folks more.
My name is Melissa MARK-VIVERITO, and I'm running to be your public advocate. Soy Melissa MARK-VIVERITO y me postulo para ser su defensora del pueblo. You know what this city needs? Someone who tells New Yorkers the truth. You know what New Yorkers want? An end to bureaucratic excuses from our elected officials. You know what you deserve? Leaders who are honest with you, who speak up for you, who fight for you. I have always used my voice to speak up and advocate for immigrants, for women, and for our LGBTQ communities, for renters, for subway riders, and for working families, even when I stood alone. I said we had to close Rikers Island, and the mayor said it couldn't be done. I said we had to decriminalize low-level offenses so Black and brown New Yorkers wouldn't have a criminal record for staying in the park after dark, and the police commissioner said it was impossible. I said every single undocumented immigrant deserved a free lawyer, and the mayor said it couldn't be funded. But every time, I got it done. Dije que todo inmigrante indocumentado merecía un abogado gratis, y el alcalde dijo que no se podía financiar, pero cada vez yo logré hacerlo. Because our voices are our strength. No matter how many times those in power try to silence us, we must keep speaking up and demanding a more just, more equitable, more fair city. Because it's time for a leader in New York City who is fighting for you.
My name is Danny O'Donnell, and I'm running to be your public advocate. New York City saved my life. I was born in Queens. When I was 12, my mother died of cancer, and my father turned to alcohol, leaving my 4 siblings and me on our own. After college, I returned to the city with my future husband, knowing that it was one of the places that would accept us. After getting my law degree from CUNY, I worked as a public defender with legal aid, representing low-income New Yorkers in criminal cases. In private practice, I took on civil rights, housing, and employment discrimination cases. In 2002, I was elected to the Assembly to represent the Upper West Side and Harlem. My Equality for All platform is more than just a slogan. It's my life's work. Every day, I strive to make New York fairer for all of us, protecting renters, opposing overdevelopment and shady deals like Amazon, delivering important bills like marriage equality and anti-bullying laws, and reforming our racist criminal justice system. New York City needs a public advocate with the strength, experience, and determination to protect equality for all. Our subway is crumbling, our houses are becoming less affordable, our rights face threats from Washington, and our government is not held accountable. I won't back down from bullies, and I will be a public advocate who delivers for all of us. On February 26th, please vote for me to bring equality for all New Yorkers.
I'm Jared Rich. I'm a Brooklyn-born and raised New Yorker. Both of my parents were New York City public school teachers. My brother's a New York City public school teacher, and I'm a product of the New York City public school system. I went to the University of Maryland to obtain a bachelor's degree in government and politics before coming back home to get my law degree from Brooklyn Law School. My wife and I are the proud parents of 2 young boys. They are my pride and joy. And my most important concern is that regardless of what school they or any other child in New York City go to, that we can all be confident that it's a great school. For the last 10 years, I've been working for myself as an independent lawyer. I represent people in all communities, of all stripes, throughout all 5 boroughs. I pride myself as someone who gets things done. And as public advocate, I am going to get things done, something the career politicians have shown they cannot do. As a lawyer and a member of the community, I'll use the full extent of the powers of the office to bring about actual change.
My platform is simple. I want to be a voice for all New Yorkers. I believe that every single public school should be a great school. I will fight to end the opioid crisis by going after the morally bankrupt doctors and companies that knowingly pump these drugs onto our streets and into our families. I'll use my legal experience to make sure that all New Yorkers can live in a home that has heat, is lead-free, and is clear of hazardous violations. I believe in fairness, I believe in equity, I believe in trust. I believe that fairness is a two-way street. As a lawyer and as a just human, I always seek out both sides. I look at all parts of a story, I gather all the information I can, then I deliberate, and then I decide. I'm a litigator who will fight and a negotiator who will listen. There's a special election on February 26th. If you're like me, you're sick of politics as usual and are seeking an alternative to the career politicians, let's truly make this election special and shock the system. Vote for me, Jared Rich, on February 26th.
Hi, my name is YDANIS Rodriguez, and I'm running to become the next New York City Public Advocate. I currently serve as a representative of the 10th District in New York City. I'm running to become the next public advocate to defend the rights of more than 8 million New Yorkers. I'm not afraid to stand up to a special interest and ready to use every resource at the disposition of the office to accomplish our mission. My whole adult life, I have worked on advancing the agenda of working families and defending their rights because I firmly believe that every New Yorker has a right to a dignified life, and governments should cover all basic needs of the city residents, such as quality education and health care. I'm ready to fight for those rights as your next New York public advocate. I'm proud of my record to promote equality by advancing legislation to protect and improve the rights of women, immigrants, and workers. Everyone aspires to a better life and a piece of the Big Apple. As a public official, we must level the playing field to guarantee that every resident has a shot at upward mobility. I'm particularly proud of my accomplishments in the areas of public transportation. As a former taxi cab driver, I know firsthand the needs and concerns of the workers. We must protect them and make sure that their families are protected as well. We can't balance budgets on the backs of taxi cab drivers. I have assembled a great team, and I hope I can count on your support on Tuesday, February 26th, to become your next New York City public advocate to advance and continue my passion, which is to defend your rights.
My name is Dawn Smalls, and I'm running for public advocate. I'm a mom, an attorney, and a first-time candidate. And I believe that government is a force for good, but only if it works. I have 2 decades of experience in law, government, politics, and philanthropy that I'm ready to bring to the public advocate's office. I've worked in 2 Democratic presidential administrations and was part of the team responsible for providing health care to millions of Americans under the Affordable Care Act. To do that, I had to break through the bureaucracy to get results. I've served as the commissioner on the Joint Committee on Public Ethics, appointed by Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins, the agency responsible for oversight of the governor, the attorney general, and members of the Assembly and Senate. I'm running because New Yorkers need a public advocate that is independent of the political machine, with the experience, the know-how, and the wherewithal to get things done. They deserve someone who is dedicated to the job and not just using it as a test run for mayor. As an attorney, I've represented immigrant workers seeking fair pay, won clemency by President Obama for a man whose sentence was excessive for the nonviolent drug crime he committed over a decade ago, and got an injunction against Trump's campaign to stop voter suppression before the 2016 election. These are real results for real people. I want to do the same for New Yorkers and make sure they get a government that works to serve them. Please come out and vote for me in the special election on February 26th. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Eric ULRICH, and I'm running to be your next public advocate. The public advocate's job is to be an ombudsman and to hold the mayor accountable. I am the only candidate in this race who will do this job the way it was intended. As your next public advocate, I will make sure Mayor de Blasio does what he was elected to do. We have an absentee mayor who seems to be less concerned with managing the day-to-day affairs of the city and more concerned with raising his national profile. Bill de Blasio cares more about his standing in the national media and vacationing in Vermont than he does about fixing problems in our city. Bill de Blasio talks about income inequality and the tale of two cities, yet he has done nothing to fix a broken property tax system that he himself benefits from. The mayor has failed to address the homelessness crisis, the broken subway system, and the lack of affordable housing in our city. Isn't it time we had a citywide elected official who is actually focused on city issues and fixing city problems? That's why it's important that New Yorkers have a public advocate who is independent of the mayor and willing to hold his feet to the fire. I am not politically aligned with the mayor, and I am certain the mayor would prefer almost anyone else in that office but me. If you want to send a message to the mayor, vote for me on the Common Sense party line on Tuesday, February 26th. I'm Eric Ulrich, and I'd be honored to have your support. Thank you.
I am extremely proud to be a candidate for New York City Public Advocate. My campaign is about fighting injustice wherever it may occur, in any community throughout our city. Whether you are a NYCHA resident in the South Bronx without heat, a parent on the Upper West Side who wants the best education for your children, a senior in Clinton Hill without access to quality health care, a grandparent in Staten Island concerned about the environment you will leave to your grandchildren, or a subway rider from Far Rockaway who can't get to work on time. I will be your advocate, your agitator, your litigator, and your legislator. I will never hesitate to stand up to the mayor and take him on whenever he neglects the needs of any community, or wherever I see the inhumane treatment of any group of New Yorkers. Justice, fairness, and equity are the values that guide me as a mother, as a community leader, and as an assemblywoman. They are the values that will shape my service and vision as New York City's next public advocate. My mother and father came to New York City from South Carolina with an 8th grade education. They had a vision for my life and knew that education would be the great equalizer.
Peace, everybody. I'm Councilmember JUMAANE Williams, and I'm running to be New York City's next public advocate. Throughout my career in the City Council and before that as a community organizer, I've served as an advocate for the public by fighting for justice and equity for all. Someone who's unafraid to put their body on the line to stand up for what's right and create transformational change in our city. I've been proud to lead the fight to create better policing and safer streets, to address our city's affordable housing crisis, and to improve transparency and accountability in our city government. We took a stand for underserved communities, for Black and brown New Yorkers, for immigrants' rights, women's rights, LGBT rights, and our veterans. We passed more than 50 pieces of legislation by blending outside pressure with inside operations, and I was proud to be voted New York City's most productive council member. Now, we still have a lot of work to do, but as our next public advocate, I will continue to be an activist elected official who brings the voice of everyday New Yorkers to our city government and help make New York a truly progressive beacon for all. On February 26th, I'm asking for your vote. To join our grassroots campaign and learn more, please visit JuMaaneWilliams.com. It's time. Let's go. Peace.
Hi, my name is Ben Yi, and I was born and raised in New York City. And my professional life has been spent improving government and engaging people with their democracy. I'm in this race not as a career politician, but as a civic activist and educator. Over 10 years, I have trained thousands of New Yorkers across every borough to find solutions to problems facing our communities. My parents lived the New York experience. My father is Chinese American, and my mother immigrated from Poland, a daughter of Jewish Holocaust survivors. They taught me that everyone is created equal and has a place in our democracy. I'm running to do 3 things truly achievable by the Public Advocate's Office, which will empower New Yorkers. Civics for All, a program of citywide civic education, along with a political 311 hotline, so anyone can find out who's making decisions that affect their community and how to reach them. Power for Communities, building coalitions of civic institutions for bottom-up city planning to stop overbearing elected officials from dividing and conquering communities for special interests, and Justice for New Yorkers, to investigate and provide legal support to sue bad actors, such as employers committing wage theft, a board of elections purging voters, and a city that fails to enforce concessions made to communities by big developers. For more detail, please go to benjaminyee.com. Thank you.
You've just heard from the candidates running to be the next public advocate. For more information, go to voting.nyc. And don't forget to vote in the special election on February 26. The Voter Guide is a nonpartisan, voluntary educational program of the New York City Campaign Finance Board, CFB, providing voters the opportunity to learn about candidates for city elective office. This video guide includes recorded statements and information from all candidates who appear to be on the ballot at press time, who choose to participate, and who met the submission deadline. Because candidates can be removed from the ballot for legal reasons until just before the election, some candidates in this program may not appear on the ballot. In addition, some candidates have chosen not to participate in this video guide. The candidate statements are their own. All candidates have affirmed that their statements are true to the best of their knowledge. The CFB does not endorse any candidate for public office, and the views expressed in candidate statements do not represent those of the CFB.